Hello everyone. Today I'll do the rest of the chapter which I left in my first lecture of the Swadeshi movement, the growth of revolutionary terrorism and how these activities grew in Bengal and later in other parts of India, and how the organizations like the Abhinav Bharat, Yuvantal, Anushilan Shamiti all had an impact in the struggle for freedom. How, again I'll also emphasize on how the situation or the struggle of anti-partition movement became now a struggle for India's independence, a change in the motives, a change in the way of struggle by the freedom strugglers then. So we ended in the last lecture about the Swadeshi movement and how the Swadeshi it actually failed because there were several reasons. Today we'll also go through that why there are limitations of the Swadeshi movement because of the regional limitation, like it only was between the Bengal parts inside Bengal, and then there were several other factors which led to the end of Swadeshi movement in 1908. And Bengal was obviously partitioned in 1905, and the anti-partition movement was going with the boycott and Swadeshi movement. And here we will go through the militancy. How it militancy. The leadership of the anti-partition movement soon become militant nationalism main factor. They were factors behind this growth of revolutionary terrorism or militancy, as well as also change in the leadership of Congress. Earlier in the first 20 years of Congress, we see from 1885 to 1905, there were moderate domination. Leaders like Surendranath Banerjee was there. Later came the famous trio Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak. These people came. They were more radical in their outlook. They are more assertive. They are known as assertive nationalists. Why? The major factor for this why is people lost faith in the 3Ps policy of the moderates. 3Ps, what the 3Ps stand in? Peace, petition and prayers. People lost faith in this way of struggle against the British, and they now shifted towards a more radical measure, that is revolutionary. That is only termed as revolutionary nationalism or revolutionary terrorism later on. So here we will say again there is another factor for it. This is the governments of the two Bengals. Here we are like dealing with the partition of Bengal, East Bengal and Western Bengal. Here eastern part were already accepted the partition for their benefit. British had already brainwashed them with that, and they were actively putting efforts to divide the people of Bengal into Muslim and Hindu lands on religious basis. So these measures became very much active with the growth of revolutionarism. And one of the like here we will also see how the Indian leaders were following the Russian nihilists and Irish terrorists. Irish revolution, earlier also I have also mentioned in my lecture that Indians were influenced by the international events like the Russo-Japanese War, the Irish national movement. So here in case of growth of revolutionary terrorism or growth of militancy, Indians were influenced by the Russian nihilists who were an active part of Russian revolution, and the Irish terrorists like Irish revolutionaries who were active part of Irish independence movement. So here they were actively involved, and they were copying the ideas or they were following the path of them, and the main factor was lax in belief of moderate policies. Now we will move on to the leaders who are important in the growth of revolutionary militarism or militancy, growth of militancy. Leaders like Krishna Kumar Mitra, Ashwini Kumar Dotto, Lajpat Rai, Ajit Singh, Bal Gangadhar Tilak are like famous names to be mentioned in this respect. Here, when the movement was going on, we have to remember always that it was a colonial government. Britishers were there. They were always ready to suppress the movement. And here they also got help with the Eastern Bengal administration and all, because they were supporting the partition of Bengal, and they thought that would lead to Muslim upliftment, because most of the population, the ratio, if you see the ratio, most of the Muslim population went to the East Bengal. So here they were getting support from that portion, as well as the Britishers always want to suppress any type of movement against colonialism. So government came, government repression was tremendous. Several leaders were arrested and deported. Even the movement ended abruptly due to this. Several leaders became arrested. The movement arrested, and the movement became leaderless. How the government became repressive? The singing of Bande Mataram in public streets of East Bengal was banned. Public meetings were restricted, sometimes forbidden. Laws controlling the press were enacted. Swadeshi workers were prosecuted and imprisoned for long periods. Many students were always an active participant of any movement against the colonialism, and here they were also given corporal punishment, like heavy punishment was given to them. From 1906 to 1909, more than 550 political cases came up before the Bengal courts only, and that led to several people's arrest, and that led to the leaderless movement. And how prosecutions against a large number of nationalist newspapers were launched, freedom of press was completely suppressed, military police was stationed. Like police was stationed in various parts of the areas in Bengal where there were chances of public meeting. So there were no colonial government make it assured that there must be no gatherings of people, no changes of thought or expressions. And in 1908 December, 9 Bengal leaders were deported. Deported that time means Bengal leaders were led to Tihar jail or maximum to Andaman. Any leader who wanted to remain shut forever, they would deport them to Andaman, and in a lower grade they will be deported to some other state. From Bengal, they will be deported to Tihar jail or in any other jail in any parts. So these were there. As military and nationalists came to fore, they gave a call for passive resistance along with Swadeshi and boycott. They asked the people not only to boycott foreign goods, but foreign institutions, foreign governments, schools, colleges, municipalities, and legislative councils. So boycott, I earlier also have said, boycott was not only about foreign goods, but there were foreign institutions, colleges, government schools were also boycotted by the people. So in this way, the militancy was growing, as well as colonial government repression or colonial government's measure to suppress the movement were also continuing with the same efforts. Now we will discuss about the impact of the movement, both the positive impact as well as the negative impact, or where the movement failed or the limitations of it. Initially, I will do the positive impact, that the upsurge of nationalist sentiment to the movement ended, the anti-partition movement ended by, Swadeshi movement ended by 1908, but the upsurge, the nationalist sentiment remained in the people. That was the first movement which was beyond any divided sentiment. It was the idea of against the partition of Bengal movement now led to the sentiment became a struggle for Indian independence. So this sentiment or this patriotic feeling, nationalistic feeling remained among the people. Though movement faded away, that sentiment, people were waiting for the next upsurge where they could join. And Gandhi's call was successful next time. The next big struggle was non-cooperation movement indeed. So Gandhi's call, people responded well because there were already a national sentiment which grew out of this anti-partition movement. So people had been aroused from this number of centuries. They had learned to take a bold, fearless attitude in politics. They had acquired self-confidence, self-reliance, and learned to participate in new forms of mass mobilization and political action. They now waited, like I said, for the new call, which was given by Gandhi. And now we will talk about the limitations. What was the limitations? As I was saying, as major leaders like Tilak, Lajpat Rai, and several others were arrested and deported, movement became leaderless, and the militant nationalists were successful in giving a positive lead to the people or energizing people, but they did not had an idea about how to use that energies or how to channelize those energies positively. They had aroused energies among Indians, but they don't know how to channelize it in a positive way. So the aroused people did not know how to harness or utilize the newly released energies, and they failed to reach the real masses of the country, the peasants. As we all know, that non-cooperation movement was the first movement in Indian history where masses were involved. Gandhi's call for the masses. That's why there is a charisma of Gandhi. That's the earlier no movement had such tremendous involvement of masses. Though it was the Swadeshi movement had some participation of masses, but not the peasants. Peasants did not participate in well, because with the Swadeshi movement, the items prices got rise, and thus they were not helped by the indigenous goods, because the production of indigenous items needed much more money. So their movement remained confined to the urban lower and middle class and zamindars. That was a major limitation. It could not go beyond that percentage of population. They had come to a political dead end by beginning of 1908. Consequently, government succeeded to a large extent in suppressing them, and when the movement became leaderless, it could not survive. This is all about the impact of the movement of growth of revolutionary nationalism and later which became terrorism. So now we will move on to the how nationalism or revolutionary nationalism became terroristic or terrorism with these organizations. And here I will mention that Yugantar was a newspaper, not a organization. Now it is not active, but few years back, our Yugantar was a periodical which was about reliving this Yugantar. So we did about the limitations and positive impact. So now how the government repression, frustration caused by the failure of Indian leadership to provide a positive lead to the people led to ultimately revolutionary terrorism, as Bipan Chandra writes in his book. So the youth of Bengal found all avenues of peaceful protest and political action blocked out of desperation, and they fell back upon individual heroic action. So as I was saying, moderate policies of passive resistance or peaceful protest had people lost faith in that, and now they were moving to revolutionary terrorism. Here, what terrorism have to be mentioned? Okay. Revolutionary terrorism. So, as Yugantar writes, 1906, after the Borishal conference, the remedy lies with the people themselves. The 30 crores of people inhabiting India must raise their 60 crores hands to stop this curse of oppression, which is British colonialism. So, with the role of Yugantar, we see the role of press. Role of press. How press and media was an active part of growth of terrorism. Now press is also important in history. Press always had an important part in growth of any activity or movement. So now the revolutionary young men or revolutionary youth of India, they began with assassination of unpopular officials of Britishers. Like they did not wanted a mass revolution, but they wanted individual heroic action. This is a key word. They start can be seen by 1897. The Chapekar brothers assassinated two unpopular British officials at Pune, and later now will come to Obhinavo Bharat. 1904, Obhinavo Bharat was established by V.D. Savarkar. This was a secret society of revolutionaries, and after 1905, several newspapers had begun to advocate revolutionary terrorism, like Sandhya, Yugantar. Yugantar Sandhya is very important, and Kal in Maharashtra were the most prominent one. And there were several assassination of British officials, like the Chapekar brothers had done. Later, Khudiram Bose will do. In December 1907, an attempt was made on the life of Lieutenant Governor of Bengal, and in April 1908, Khudiram Bose, Prafulla Chakri threw a bomb at a carriage which they believed was occupied by King's Court, the unpopular judge at Muzaffarpur. Prafulla Chakri was shot himself dead while Khudiram Ghosh was tried and hanged. The era of revolutionary terrorism had begun, and many secret societies, terrorist youth came into existence. The most famous was, apart from Abhinav Bharat, was the Anushilan Shomiti of Dhaka. It was situated in Dhaka, and section alone had 500 branches. This Anushilan Shomiti was not a single organization, but it had 500 branches alone in Dhaka. And soon revolutionary terrorist societies became active in the rest of the country, not only confined to Bengal but rest of India, and they became so bold as to throw a bomb at Viceroy Lord Hardinge, while he was riding on an elephant in the street procession in Delhi. The Viceroy was wounded. So revolutionaries also established centers abroad. So the revolutionary activities, the terrorist activities was not only confined to Bengal or India but abroad. In London, the lead was taken by Shamaji Krishna Varma, V.D. Savarkar and Hardayal, as we also got the name of Gadar Party, which was established by Lala Hardayal. While in Europe, Madame Bhikaji Kama and Ajit Singh were the prominent leaders of revolutionary terrorism. Now, terrorism too gradually petered out. In fact, terrorism as a political weapon was bound to fail. Obviously, this war terrorism is now today's terrorism. We cannot equate this with today's terrorism, but these violent activities or violence can never succeed for a long period, as Gandhi from initial time only understood the importance of non-violence in his method of struggle. Violence is needed, but not terrorism. So it was bound to fail. It could not mobilize the masses. All masses could never be influenced by violent ideas. So in fact, it had no base among the people. Terrorists did make a valuable contribution to the growth of nationalism in India. However, we cannot rule out their contributions. It gave a new political upliftment to the people. It gave new way of struggle. It experimented. Actually, the Indian leaders followed Russian realists or the Irish terrorists. So it gave a new way of struggle. It gave them, as new energies were born out of revolutionary activities, it gave them a new way of struggle to experiment with the Indian freedom struggle. But it was bound to fail, and it failed. So we end our lecture here today, and the first chapter of class 11 ISC board is done totally. Now books will be mentioned at the end. We'll get a photo of the book as well as some relevant images of the lecture. Thank you for watching my video. Please like, share and subscribe our channel History Lessons for more historical facts, and please also comment for your valuable opinions and press the bell icon for regular updates. Thank you.